Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. My goodness, what a night. Another extraordinary night in this year of extraordinary nights. Trump was a 4-1 chance yesterday early evening, which is a rank outsider in a two-horse race, and he's totally turned everything on its head. Unsurprisingly, the Mexican peso is the biggest currency decliner in the world right now. Have a look at Bloomberg TV's table. If you haven't had a chance to watch Adam Curtis's HyperNormalisation, you should, because he touches on a lot of these points and really sort of goes back to get some history on Trump as well. Just to give you a bit of a clip about that, the term hypernormalization is taken from Alexei Yurchak's 2006 book, Everything Was Forever Until It Was No More. The last Soviet generation, about the paradoxes of life in the Soviet Union during the 20 years before it collapsed. He argues that everyone knew the system was failing, but as no one could imagine any alternative to the status quo, politicians and citizens were resigned to a pretense of a functioning society. Over time, this delusion became a self-fulfilling prophecy, and the fakeness was accepted by everyone as real, an effect which Yurchak termed hypernormalization. And I think essentially we're watching the refusal of people to believe in the status quo. Have a look at this. Most active futures, including the VIX, which moved more than 25%. This is Eric Scott Huntsader. The fear index from earlier yesterday, Holger, and the Mexican peso, which has been the proxy for a Trump, inverse proxy as it were, for a Trump presidency. Home thoughts, just briefly. I like this at Roku, the lobster and wagyu stuffed high roller roll, sauce sushi Roku. Some off the menu dishes are relatively secret, others are not. For 8 years, the Vegas branch of the West Coast chain Sushi Roku has offered the high roller roll to anyone who knows about it and is willing to shell out $250. Some high roller tables will be offered it as a verbal special by the server. The outrageous roll is filled with just about every extravagant ingredient you can think of: lobster tail, wagyu Kobe beef, tuna, Ossetra golden caviar and truffle oil. And it's decorated with edible gold leaf, so it looks fancy too. And then I like this as well: shaved truffles, top vanilla gelato for a deluxe dessert at Lilia. Political reflections. Do you remember I've been following this fellow called Hector Morenko? Go and have a look at his Twitter handle, which is gloating and a little bit aggressive, and I think he would have done better to have been a little bit more gentlemanly. He earned every vote. He ran on policies that Americans wanted, not donor talking points. I could not be prouder of this man. Today is our Independence Day, the day the American working class is going to strike back. 25th of August, I was on an interview on the NTV and I said Trump has a chance if he gets his demographics out. I'm not writing him off. And then I said on the 19th of September, if Trump can turn on and turn out his base and Hillary can't, then this is a toss-up. I asked, where will the world be in the event of a President Trump? Who really knows, or who can predict that? 34.4% seems to be a trading buy. He fell lower than that. Currently 95 to 99. I asked on the 8th of November if he's Teflon, because he made some very disparaging remarks about a lot of people. It's turning out 66% of white women, for example, voted for him. Los Angeles Times, the polls are officially open. Californians now get out there and vote. Hillary Clinton was talking about being stronger together. The net result chimes with what I wrote in October 2015 about Putin being a geopolitical grandmaster. And one has to say that Trump will probably reset those relations. Oh man, I guess we won this thing. 8 years ago, a tight-knit group of Obama campaign staffers had a ringside seat as history was made. I wonder how they're reacting now. Derwood Collop, my God, Assad is some type of jinn, outlasting everyone who ever vowed to depose him. The Russian naval CINC Vladimir Korolyov visits China's aircraft carrier, the Liaoning, during a working visit to China. I like this. Can you get We Love Boris t-shirts on UK high streets? Photographs of Sergei Lavrov. Lavrov famously said, if it looks like a terrorist, if it acts like a terrorist, if it walks like a terrorist, if it fights like a terrorist, it's a terrorist, right? And then have a look at this. Russian fleet led by Kuznetsov is to strike Aleppo with Caliber missiles, carrier-based jets. International markets, here's every Mexican peso one-day percentage move for the last 5 years. Try spotting the election. Pretty dramatic stuff. Let's go to the currency markets. Euro dollar is at 112.21, having gone just shy of 113. Dollar index, when I looked last, was 96.07. Dollar yen 102.50 from 101.34 this morning, but that's a pretty dramatic move anyway. But the BOJ are talking about intervening. Let's see. The pound 124.65, having topped 125. The Aussie 0.7650. India rupee 66.765, South Korea won 1156.25, the Real 318.25, the Egyptian pound 17.998, still in the process of price discovery there. South African rand 13.7524. Euro dollar, let's take a look at that, 112.25, it's had a safe haven bid. Dollar yen, of course, another safe haven. I'll put up a 3-day chart for you to take a look at. We're now at 102.37. Commodity markets, gold surged as the count leaned towards Trump. It's now at 1321. I said it's 1400 at some point. OPEC boss warns of oil market instability if no deal on output. There isn't going to be a deal on output. Have a look at this 5-day chart of crude oil. Emerging markets, Turkish lira weakened to fresh lifetime low on capital flight as Erdogan moves to cement his power. Moving on to sub-Saharan Africa, the payment capacity is virtually nil. This is Wall Street Journal, Mozambique. Investors are preparing to fight Mozambique's plan to restructure the $726 million of bonds a second time, threatening a stalemate that could delay the country's access to much-needed aid. We are trying to convey a sense of urgency because we think it's in everyone's interest to find a quick solution. The payment capacity is virtually nil. Mozambique confirmed to us that they were following the necessary internal and external legislation, that comprehensive information on the loans was disclosed to creditors and investors. 4th of June 2012, Maputo was a boomtown. That was then. There was a big Africa Rising conference in 2014. Look at this photograph of Maputo from the sea that I took. But obviously it's gone from boom to bust. And, I wrote a piece called A Cautionary Tale. Currency has slipped 70% this year and has sent the price of goods beyond the reach of many Mozambicans. He predicted, this is the FT, that the investigation would stop short of implicating senior government officials. In part, that is because of a reluctance within Frelimo to incriminate its own members, but it also reflects donors' wishes to resume lending to what until recently had been deemed an African success story. They want the omelette, but they don't want to break many eggs. Mozambique's consumer inflation has edged up to 25.53% in October. South African all shares down 0.01% year to date. Rand takes over the mantle of the world's most political currency. Move over Mexico with the US election campaign over. But that's been overtaken by events, has it not? But South Africa's second. The rand is a real measure of the political risk premium. You buy the rand or you sell the rand for 9, 10 days or 1 week because you know it can flip very rapidly just on the politics. My concern is that it's not the end of the story at all, it's just the beginning. I don't think that Zuma will do nothing. He will find another way to strike back. The rand will remain very hard to trade. Implied volatility, have a look. Dollar versus rand, around the 13.7165 level. My top things to do in Johannesburg this summer, this is Mazanzi girl, she sends lovely photographs. Egyptian EGX30 up 44.11% this year. Egypt's blue chip stock index surged in early trade on Tuesday to its highest level since June 2008. That's all about the devaluation. Nigeria all share down 7.95% this year. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index minus 14.58% this year. Geneva authorities seize 11 fancy cars owned by the son of Equatorial Guinea's dictator, 2 of them worth $5 million. Inside Africa, Moody's have a very good view over the continent, talking about how growth is expected in SSAs to slow to 1.6% in 2016, down from 3% last year. Pictures not universally negative. Botswana, Rwanda have actually posted sustained improvements in competitiveness since the financial crisis. Talking of growing cash and liquidity challenges in the Zimbabwean banking sector. Zambia, concerned about Zambia, saying its fiscal deficit on the commitment basis to breach 10% of GDP this year. Mozambique Metical, one of the currencies that has depreciated the most globally against the US dollar, depreciating 42% to 77 Metical against the dollar. DRC they're also concerned about, and they say import covers only for about 1 month. Japanese PM Shinzo Abe is urging President Kenyatta to engage the UN over the expulsion of Lieutenant General Ondiki and reconsider withdrawal of troops from South Sudan. Musalia Mudavadi is talking about the formation of an opposition alliance that unites Cords Odinga with Musavadi and saying it could be a game changer in Kenya politics. Look, they find it very difficult to choose one candidate. That's the essential problem. If they can do that, then they present a serious threat. Harun Wau, a politically exposed person, has exited Nakumat's shareholder register with the sale of his 7% stake. Essentially, that clears the way because it was a precondition for any equity investor. Tells us that there is an equity investor due imminently. KCB reported strong loan growth in Kenya business, helped push up KCB pre-tax profits 18.3% through Q3. Mobile accounts have grown by 98% to 10.2 million, with 91% of all KCB transactions in the past 9 months being on mobile. Mobile loan requests on KCB and PESA have increased to an average of 80,000 per day. Nairobi all shares down 4.05% this year. Nairobi NSE 20 is down 19.76% this year. Kenya's Capital Markets Authority accuses audit firm Ernst & Young of helping Uchumi cook its books. The other big news yesterday was, obviously all eyes were transfixed on the US election. Closer to home, the Nation reported that Prime Bank's chairman was a 47.32% shareholder in Crane Bank Uganda, which is now in receivership. Prime Bank said it's a professionally run financial institution regulated by the CBK. We're fully compliant and strictly follow the prudential guidelines laid down by the CBK. Kenya Airways continued to move higher, closed at a fresh 2016 high of 730. It's up just under 50% year to date. By contrast, Nation Media closed at a fresh 2016 low. That's down 47.38% this year. Once again, thank you for stopping by. This is a momentous moment. It really is. And it tells me that we're going to see change across the world. I think Marie Le Pen looks a lot more likely. I think a whole rightist wave is going to sweep in Europe in particular. And we've entered definitely a new normal. Consequences for Africa, difficult to measure, but I would have thought AGOA comes under pressure, amongst others.